Hi, and welcome to the Rags to Riches show with myself, Terry Blackburn. Now, today's guest is a guy called Reece Mennie. He's in the lovely Canary Wharf, he's just told us earlier on. He's got extensive experience in sourcing, development. He owns multiple businesses in the development and property investment space. He's been involved in over 1,000 units with a GDV of over 220 million, including 30 large projects over the last 5 years. So property focused, I think it'll be a great episode full of knowledge, experience and lessons. And I'm excited to hear a little bit more. So welcome to the show, Reece Mennie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to come on and have a chat with yourself.
No, thank you. I appreciate you're a very busy man, as am I. So we'll jump straight in, because I know there's probably lots to talk about. So what we like to do on the show, Reece, is just talk about your story, really, and try and extract some inspiration, some lessons from it. So three main parts of your story would be, first of all, just how you got into property, how it actually started for you. Second part is the growth part, the exciting part, where everyone wants to know how you went from your first unit to building over 1,000. And then just the last part is just what your attention is on. So if you could start with the first bit, how it all started for you, Reece, that would be great.
Yeah, well, about me, obviously, 35 years of age, pretty good upbringing, I would say. You know, come from a good family background. Family was very, committed for me to do well, backed me in everything that I'd done, anything that I wanted to do, from playing football to whatever sports. You know, when I was younger, they was always the people there waving the flag and saying, look, if that's what you want to do, get on with it. So I think that helped in the background. I left school early. So I dropped out of school when I was 15 and I started working in my father's business. And that's where I learned a hell of a lot in business, to be honest with yourself, because at a young age, he had just taken over his own business. Before I started, he bought the business from somebody else and he was sort of forced into buying it, to be honest with you. He wasn't a businessman. He was somebody that preferred to work for somebody, earn his money and go home to his family. He was forced to buy in the business and he sort of fell into this ownership role, I suppose. And I dropped out of school and entered that family business with him. And I learned a hell of a lot at a young age that a lot of people obviously wouldn't get access to. And it wasn't all good and it wasn't all pretty. Like you hear some stories, I fell into my dad's business. It was a souvenir printing business. So what we used to do was sell souvenirs to Colchester Zoo, London Zoo, and we used to print on pens, pencils, mugs and things like that. So it was a good business, but just where he'd bought it, he was naive in business and there was a lot to learn in a short space of time. I grew the sales team. We made it work and he exited it not that long after I started. So I was there for about 3 years, but I learned a lot in terms of stuff that can go wrong in a very, very short space or a quick time. And at that young age, really it made me grow up quick and realize, it's not all as easy as it seems, seeing that front end. And, then I just got into the investment world, just out of pure luck. I mean, I had a couple of other businesses myself, sports shops, and people driving for me, courier businesses. But my mum got me a job in an investment company in London. Just one day, she said, "Oh, look, you've got a job interview. Go up there," and I fell into that, and I enjoyed it. It was good fun, great atmosphere. Didn't think that I was an office kind of person because I'd always been out and about, but fell into that, and it went well. And what I realised quickly through my career in investments and in London, quite frankly, is that not every investment company are out to help investors. They're more inclined to sell something because it lines their pocket instead of what's right for the investor. So I thought, there's quite a gap in the market here, in terms of an opportunity that works for everybody. And I fell into working with a couple of property developers, come across them, and they was looking to raise capital through private investors. And that's where I was like, well, I think we could put two and two together here. And I started working with them, and it was really successful. We raised a hell of a lot of money quickly. and I've become a business partner in that project. And that's, you know, that's where the growth come from, and how it works, and how my business evolved. But, you know, from a young age, I was always looking to buy or sell or make money, from having a paper round, from working outside of school holidays, 6 weeks holidays. I'd always get myself a job. Wasn't really interested in anything else apart from making a success and learning and finding as much information out as possible, really. And that's how it was for me as a youngster. It was always looking for an opportunity.
Do you think you got that from your dad, or is there
not really? Maybe
it's
not fair to say no, because obviously he learnt me a lot, but he wasn't entrepreneurial, or he wasn't, you know, he sort of fell into buying the business. He didn't. That wasn't his end goal. He didn't want to end up with the business. He just worked for the business. The business fell into a situation where the guy was selling it and everyone was going to lose work. And my dad sort of was like, well, look, I'll get on with it. And he made it work, and he was learning on the job, so to speak. So yeah, a lot of it come from that. But yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, you can have it just installed in you. You know, it depends what kind of person you are. But I mean, one thing that I would say, and I talk on a lot of podcasts and do a lot of speeches up and down the country to various different audiences. And, you know, one thing I do say is that if I can do it, anyone can. And it's as simple as that. You know, it's about how much you want something compared to, you know, you need opportunity, you need money, you need this. It's how much do you want it? And there's, you know, you get 10 people in the room, they all say they want it, but there's a different amount of wanting it than the next person. And that's all business comes down to, trial and error. You know, people make mistakes in business every day. The only people that don't make mistakes are people that are not doing anything. You know, it's how you deal with them, and how you move on, and how you courage it. What do you want out of it?
Yeah, I agree, man. You know, it does come down to a lot of it, how much they actually want it. You know, some people are tucked up in bed at 9 o'clock, or they're watching Netflix from 6 o'clock. Like,
it'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be nice. 8 to 5. I mean, does that even exist anymore?
It'd be nice. Like, but that's how it works.
Exactly.
And that's where I've come from. I've never been 9 to 5. It's always, you know, constantly working. It's my own thing. You know, so that's how I started. I sort of fell into the investment side of things, and fundraising with various different developers that went extremely well. And I went from, you know, working with small developers to making them very, very large developers in a short space of time, and learned a hell of a lot in that time as well. So I thought, you know what, keep helping these developers get to where they need to be. It's about time that, you know, I looked at doing some developing myself. And that's when HJ Collection was born, which is my development company. So we're just going into our third year now. So 3 years ago, you know, and that particular business in 3 years, we're at about 35 million GDV in that business alone. And that's in like just under just coming into the third year now, from a standing start. Now we just complete. So what I find as well is, it's about finding a niche and sticking to a niche. I see so many entrepreneurs or investors or anybody, not just entrepreneurs, but with a scattergun approach. They want to do everything. They want, you know, they're on to the next shiny object tomorrow. You see, we convert office space into residential. Straightforward. It's boring. It's not like these skyscrapers I'm sitting here looking at, fancy colours going up the side of them and things like that. It's not my bag. Don't know nothing about it. What my bag is getting an unloved office space in a second or third tier city where people need new homes, regenerating it, ripping it out, starting from scratch, building boxes inside boxes. And that's how we can grow so quick, because there's so much stock, there's so much unloved office, especially. And again, it's about opportunity. Look, people, we all did sit and cried about the pandemic what we're going to do, big problem. What an opportunity is for my business right now. The amount of empty office spaces around the country is unbelievable. And I can convert them into offices. And also what I can do is partner up with high net worth and sophisticated investors that want to work with me and give them a better return that they would get sitting in, the high street bank or an ISA or wherever they're putting their money. And we can give them a fixed coupon payment for working with us, and security over our assets for us to be able to go and use their money with our money and do multiple developments at one time. So we've got 4 developments running right now. We've got partners in them developments. We then refinance them developments, exit the investors, and retain the investment, or retain the investment product on a long-term mortgage, which gets rented out, and we just keep it for a rainy day. So we're building our portfolio up and up and up. We've started to sell and release some, but the majority of stuff we hold.
Just a few things that came to mind when you were talking there. Is there any particular reason why office to resi? Is that something that you like the numbers on? Is that a good strategy in terms of the profitability at the moment, or is that just something that you maybe your JV partners are used to? Is there any reason behind that, or
it's simple? It's easy. And the numbers are good. All right, yeah, we do get some problems, but not problems like you do. Listen, we will start doing new builds and other stuff, but my business partner on all my PV stuff, he's been successful permitted developments for the last 15 years. I've learned everything from him. I've extracted everything that he knows and run with it like a ball. And that's what he specializes in. So that's what I specialize in, and we've just stuck to that. He's now branching off and looking at other stuff. And once he's tested it and tried it and it's worked, and then I've invested and I've co-invested with him, and we've had some products that have worked and we've produced stuff, then yeah, maybe we will add that to our portfolio. But for now, stick to what works, and that's working. Yeah, the price of office space is going up because everybody's jumping on the bandwagon, but it still works for us. It's not going to work for everybody.
Is there any particular reason why the second and third tier cities, is that just price point? Is that again what you know?
It's my strategy. I'm not up against anybody. I'm not up against big boys that want to be in the market, that want to pay through the nose for sites. My contract teams are around them areas, so we know what we can build out at. We know what we can produce in them areas, and we also know that as soon as they're completed, we tenant them with unbelievably quick in them areas. There's so much demand for affordable, clean units in and around second and third tier cities that you wouldn't believe it. I mean, Doncaster, Wakefield, Pontefract. If I could have 90, if I could have another 100 apartments in Doncaster right now, I could rent them all in 2 weeks. Unbelievable. And you wouldn't think it, and there's less competition in them areas, and it works for us. We've got good relationships with the local authorities because we're doing up unloved office space, and converting it into where people want to be. So we're giving back to the community slightly, and it works.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Do you do any other strategies in terms of, do you do HMO, do you do serviced accommodation, anything along those lines?
I mean, personally, we've got some HMOs that we do. We've looked in the service accommodation, touched on a little bit in Blackpool in the service accommodation market. One piece of advice that I could give to anybody is just, if you're going to get involved with something, make sure you've done your due diligence and you know what you're looking to get out of it. So what's your strategy? You've got to go into every property deal that you're looking at with a strategy. That's, are you looking to retain? Is it serviced accommodation because you want to retain it and rent it out on short-term lets and maximise the potential of what you can bring in the peak seasons? You've got to remember what happens in the bad seasons as well. But and that's the thing. You've got to go into it with an open mind and get yourself around serious people that have done the job before. You know, a lot of people in this country, in the UK, are scared to ask other people how they done. Why did they do that? Because they feel like it ain't really what we do. You know, we're proud, we're British, we don't do that. But you don't get anywhere by doing that. You've got to ask questions. You've got to, you know, if that person ain't going to give you the answer, move on to the next one. It's the only way you're going to learn and you're going to get a benefit. Is your network is key to anything that you do. You've got to surround yourself with like-minded, real people that have done things. There's so many people out there that tell you that they've done stuff, and then you know, they haven't.
You just need to check company's house, don't you? That's the problem with this property.
Listen, there's companies house, but even the problem with that is that some entrepreneurs have so many different businesses. So where are you looking? There's so much companies house. There's so much things you can look at right now. I mean, my track record as well through another entity that wasn't solely mine. I was a shareholder in it. So potentially you might not be able to look that up and get that number that everyone's looking for. But what you will be able to do is go online and see what I've produced in terms of other stuff and what we're producing right now. But it's still so many people. The internet's a great place right now. You can find out whatever you want to find out. So use it. You know, don't just take people's word for it and buy. You know, there's so many courses that are being sold, and you can learn this on that. I'm a believer in, you know, stick with or find people that you want to work with, pick their brains, and that's how you're going to produce what you want to produce.
Do you feel that was? I mean, how actually? I forgot to ask you there. How old were you when your mum said she got you this investment job? How old were you at that stage? Were you still pretty young at that stage, getting in that?
Yeah, 18, not 17, 18. Yeah, not old at all. And
so that was then. So you were working with developers at that age, sort of.
Correct.
Talking about surrounding yourself with these type people.
There were so many structures out there. We were selling and introducing a developer to investors, and they was funding them, and they was getting on, and we was getting paid a commission for doing that. And I just thought, you know what, there's such a bigger picture here. There's so much opportunity in this space to partner up with the right people and put the right people together. And I've always been good at that, putting the right people together and finding the right people, because that's what you've got to do. You know, you've got to get in and around good people to be able to get the answers that you need.
You learn from their mistakes instead of learning from your own, right?
100%. And you know, if you don't ask the question, how are you ever going to know the answer? Can't work everything out yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite costly to do that, right?
Yeah, it can be.
What would you say on? Obviously, you've rose a lot of finance by the sounds of it, for yourself and for other people. Any advice that you would give on that for the listeners on raising finance from small amounts to large amounts? What advice would you give?
Yeah, I mean, you just need to make sure that you've got enough fat in the deals to be able to bring that finance in, because it does creep up. You know, when you're looking at a deal on paper looks okay until you start factoring what it's going to cost you. If you are using other people's money and you're putting money in yourself, just need to make sure. I think when I started, I looked at every deal and I wanted to do every deal. Now, that was my biggest fault. I was like, yeah, I like that deal. It looks good. But you just need to pick what deals you're going to get involved with and what deals you're not. You know, sometimes it's a godsend to pass on a deal and not become emotionally attached to it either. It's a deal at the end of the day, and you need to assess every angle. You need to look at the worst case scenario all the time. It's like looking at the best case. Oh, if it all goes well, we're going to get this. Well, no, but what happens if it don't all go well? Can you still pay who you took money from? Can you still exit and can still you wipe your face, and can you still keep your reputation? Because listen, not every deal goes right. Not every deal is as profitable as everyone tries to say it is. And you only talk about the ones that are good. No one talks about the ones that didn't work, right? But everyone's got deals that didn't work, but it's how you managed that process of it not working to making sure that, one, you don't dent your reputation, and two, everyone still gets back what they needed to get back, even if the deal didn't go as well as it should have.
Yeah, it's a good point. Having skin in the game, I think, yeah, for sure. There's, again, social media is a great thing, but it's also poses a lot of issues. How people approach me, this amount, how can I do this? Or could you fund this? Could you fund that? And if they're not putting any money in, if I've JV'd with plenty of people. If I have, then you've got to really have some in the game, right? You've got to bring
can you give me 100%?
Yeah, well,
what you bringing to the party?
Exactly. If it might be just your skill set, it might not necessarily be the money, but if you're bringing all the skills and the deal and everything else, and but I think having some skin in the game, you're completely right in what you're saying there. In terms of actually attracting them, though, you've mentioned networking and things. How have you maybe personally attracted a lot of your investors, and again, any other sort of key sort of points?
Right now, word of mouth. We get a lot of referrals now. But when we started, the same old networking events, getting out there, meeting people, showing them what we've done, talking to people that are looking to buy, finding out why they didn't go ahead with what they was, and if we can make their it's about adding value, right? So you find somebody that's looking to do something themselves, you give them the value why they can concentrate on what they're doing more, that's going to make them more money, and they can team up with a professional like you that can do what you're going to do. You're going to put some skin in the game. They're going to help as well with finance, and you're going to make it work together. It's about adding value. So it's finding them people. There's plenty of people out there, but as you said, social media does give you access to people as well. But you've also got to be careful of who you're dealing with, because a lot of people say yes, 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 and then you'll get to the last stage, and you can waste hell of a lot of time going into legals, doing this, doing that, to find out that the person that promised they was going to do X actually have not got the capability of doing it. I've heard some horror stories like that as well.
Yeah, me too. I think there's a lot of that online. They tell you one,
and that's the problem. That's the problem. So it's about, it's about keeping things close and working with the right. And I keep saying it. And then someone just, well, how did you find the right people? Well, it's trial and error. How did you find your wife or your partner, or it's trial and error, right? Yeah,
you're going to get one these days. Yeah,
you've got to keep exploring and talking to people and finding out. And that's how business is done. It's exactly the same, in my opinion. That's how I run my operations.
I agree. Do you do it a bit with your gut as well? Often act on my gut, sixth sense, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to listen to what your inner self says.
Yeah, definitely. I think females have got that extra little sixth sense, haven't they? But we've also got it too.
Definitely.
The women in a few of my businesses, if I've got a new starter, I always ask them, what do you think? Because women seem to have this. This thing, right?
And they know, they tell you exactly what's going to happen before it happens.
Yeah, exactly. And us as the blokes, nah, they're fine. He's a good lad. And then they're right.
Yeah. Always.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, mate. What's your attention on right now? Then, Reece, it seems like you're doing loads of different things. What strategies your attention on, and anything in particular?
Attention is my attention at the moment is straightforward, very simple. Get as much office conversions in our portfolio as possible. There's so much opportunity out there. Get hold of the sites, take the sites, even if we don't convert them straight away, but we will do. But I'm in the buying mood at the moment, is to why this opportunity is around. So many spaces that are available that there's nobody in. It's about utilizing them. I'm looking at 30, 40 deals a month. We don't work half of them, but we've got a big pipeline that we're happy with. I've probably got a pipeline of around 200-300 million that we've appraised that we like. So, we're talking to funders, we're putting our equity bits together, and we're really, really gung-ho at the moment on acquiring sites. So we're in a big expansion situation right now.
Expansion phase. Fair play. What's your thoughts on? I know it's a crystal ball, right? Do you think that market or strategy can be impacted or will be impacted in the next few years? Are you pretty confident? A lot of people are saying 2026 we're going to have continuous growth until. Any views on that?
It's always something's always going to happen. It's going to go down. The bubble's got to go down. Everything, it has to. But the areas that we target, we don't really target for growth because there's not a lot of growth in them areas. We're more yield. So again, even whatever happens, people need places to live. And places will need to be rented. If we have to reduce our rent slightly, we will do. But long as our mortgages are covered, we don't have no problems. I mean, we run normally around, not even through the pandemic, 93% occupancy. And to just to give you an example, we need to be at 43% to make sure everything stays in sync.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of wiggle room there. And I think if we drop under 43%, I've got bigger things to worry about than my portfolio. I'll be looking to try and get out of here pretty quick. But we don't know what's around the corner, but that's the good thing about the property market. Yeah. Am I in it just for the growth? No, we're in it for the long-term play. We're looking to build and build and hold and hold and hold. What will we do in 10, 15 years time? I don't know. Maybe then we sell. We might float. We might convert it into a REIT. We don't know. There's loads of opportunities and different people saying, oh, maybe you should look at this, maybe you should look at that. But right now, we're just focused on one thing: buying, retaining, and moving on to the next one.
Love that. Great. No, thank you for sharing. The show's called The Rags to Riches Show, Reece. But what does being rich mean to you? Because you can be rich in loads of different things and assets.
Of course you can.
What does being rich mean to you?
Fulfillment in terms of, for me, is time. Being able to spend time with my family, giving my family what I need to do. And the only way you can get to that is by having a good team around you. And everything that I do, I have a successful team that work alongside me so that I can delegate and let them run the show, so to speak, where I can spend time with my loved ones and give them what I need. Because at the end of the day, you can have as many properties as you want, you can have as much money in the bank as you want, but if you're not fulfilled in your own space, it doesn't mean nothing. So yeah, I wouldn't say that's what riches means to me, but that's what motivates me every day.
Yeah, I'm very similar. Family man, I've got 3. I've got number 4 on the way.
Yeah, you've got your work cut out. Then I've just had twins. I've got grey hair coming through.
But yeah, no, it's a driving factor for me too, and I think that's a common thing with a lot of successful people. Is it's not just money. If you're solely motivated by money, there's a limit to how far you can go, and you maybe cross the line, the integrity side. But if it's for family and for a better life, I think you'll go further. That's I agree with you on that. Thank you so much. It's been a great episode. If there's anything, if anybody wants to reach out to you or follow your journey or anything like that, what's the best way for them to reach out and follow you?
Yeah, I'm on all social media platforms. Reece Mennie, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Drop me a message. We respond, whether it be me or my team. Always get back to you. Happy, I do a podcast as well, so I've got my own podcast where I interview serial entrepreneurs. So if there's anyone that's listening that wants me to interview anybody that they can think of, they can drop my team a message. We can try and pencil that in. But yeah, any questions, anything as little or as big or as silly as you think they are to us, whatever questions you've got, if I can help you in any way, shape or form, that's what I'm here to do. Giving back to people that might be sitting there thinking, you know what, should I do this? Shouldn't I do that? And they might just need that little nudge that can give them, or they take a little nugget from what we've spoke about today, or any of my other podcasts, or any of your other podcasts, you know, and hopefully they get what they need.
Love that. Sounds good. Thank you for being on the show, Reece. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for coming on.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.